Hello my fellow gamers and welcome once again to Perafilozof's Banished Let's Plays. I have had that terrible starvation in the Pearland City village, I really have to start calling it a village, and I am now slowly trying to rebuild once again. As I explained in the previous video and in some forum posts I posted on the official forums and the unofficial ones, I think I've tracked down the problem and I'm calling it a domino effect. Because there is... oh, I really need to slow this down. Because there is a terrible domino effect that happens once you go down with the population, because you end up with homes that have just one person living there, but filling the home with the maximum amount of food that he can. Even though he cannot eat that food for a very long time, while the other people won't find any food and they're gonna die of starvation while that one person has a home full of it. So that is what ruins... well, what almost ruined my village and probably ruined some of yours as well, if you were unlucky enough to make the same mistakes I made. But I'm not gonna dwell on that anymore. I'm going to try and see if I can get this village up and running once again. I do have some laborers, should definitely see about increasing the production of food, because even though I went up to 2000, now I'm back to just 1000. My happiness is very low because I had so many people die. I don't have any firewood, still no firewood, even with 8 foresters, a log limit at 300 and 3 woodcutters, and still not enough logs to make firewood. That is very bad. The tools seem to be okay. I'm going to, for now, keep the limit at about 12 tools. I am making clothes as they managed to be made because I don't have a whole lot of leather, but I do have a lot of people living here, so it's not that of a big deal. Now, what is the production of the fish docks? Now it is late spring, so I could count on this current season over here to tell me just how much can they fish with 4 workers. Now the whole area here has been turned off because I was just unable to expand. Now I think I figured out, after thinking about it for a while, why did my expansion fail. Well, you see, I started making these fishing docks without having actual housing close by. Then I started making the houses, and then later on at the end I started making the storage barn, and then expanding down here without even having any homes. And that is pretty much where I made my mistake. So what I should have done was to build homes slowly down here towards the bottom side of this lake. Then build the fishing docks, then build the storage barn while the fishing docks were just starting to operate, and they would fill the storage barn from which these villagers would be able to eat from. If they needed a tool or maybe clothes to wear, they could just walk for that one thing over here. And that's like once in every few years, so it's not too much of a walk. But the problem was that I started having 8 workers or so working down here, maybe even 10, without any homes. As you can see, I started building this one, but I never managed to finish it. Although it says that it just needs some builders, but that's not something I can do at the moment. So that was my big mistake. So I have learned my lesson that expansion has to happen like this: housing, roads, storage barns, stockpiles, and then the workplaces. So an important lesson has been learned, and hopefully I won't make the same mistakes again. Now, how do I get this city back up to its feet? Well, considering there isn't much to do at the moment, I will increase the speed to 5, maybe even 10 later on. I still seem to not spend any herbs, so I'm keeping my herbalist offline. The blacksmith is working and is managing to build a nice amount of tools. The stonecutters and the miners, I have some miners working, and I do have some iron that I have stockpiled, also some stone, so I don't have to worry about that, but the firewood and the logs are my current biggest issue. Now, if I want more logs and firewood, and I don't want to cut any of the wood that is up here or over here, I will need to start working this forester's lodge again. But you see, if I were to start it, there isn't a woodcutter in any place that's close by unless you count this one up here. So what I would have to do would get another woodcutter down here right next to the stockpile and the forester's lodge, build some homes here that are going to be operating these buildings, and then they will have the firewood from this forester. So now my amount of wood and firewood is going up, but the question is, will these 3 woodcutters and these two forester lodges be enough to service these 30 plus homes? Now this is late summer, so I'm not spending a lot of firewood. I am stockpiling a little bit for the winter, but the question is just how much will I spend once the winter hits. Now I could get some more wood if I were to build a bridge here and go cut down this forest here, or maybe go all the way up here and cut down these forests. I do have 2 laborers that are probably not doing anything at the moment, so I could do that. It does not seem like a bad idea. But building a bridge would cost resources and require builders, so that's something that I won't do. Down here, the radius of the forester's lodge is up to here, so I could cut down these trees over here. Hopefully they would then take those trees up to this stockpile and place the logs there instead of going down to this stockpile here. So I will cut down a few trees over here. With just 2 laborers it's gonna be time consuming, but it should help with the number of firewood. Now I'm not stockpiling firewood for trade because I honestly don't wish to start trading in this village, because neither do I need the pastures nor the seeds for farms in a fishing village. I really want to try and see if I can make a village work by having lots of fisheries. As I called it a fishing village, I want to see if that can work. Now I'm at 42 adults, 7 children in schools, call them students, and 8 preschool children. My food situation is still going down, regardless of the fact that I have more fishermen. Now they might not be as efficient as, for example, gatherers, but they do require far less space than a gatherer does. If you look at it, a fishing dock is taking up only this much space, while a gatherer is taking up this huge amount of space in order to create maybe a double amount that a fishery can in 1 year. So that's the balance between those 2 buildings as the food producers. Now, what is my biggest problem right now? Well, my biggest problem to advance further is the lack of adults. Of course, I do have a lack of adults, considering the fact that I had such starvation. And then once again, I'm losing more and more food quicker and quicker. Look at this, down to 400. Well, I guess I will have to open up another fishery and send my laborers to become the fishermen. The firewood is going down as it's now late autumn and the temperature is already -6. I did choose a harsh environment, so there's no going around that. I've got 80 stone and 33 iron. Stone is not really necessary because I'm not building anything, but the iron is necessary for the blacksmith. I am using just 1 blacksmith. I have another built but not operated because there isn't that much of a need for tools right now. The house does not really, the one that's down here, have to be built until I have the workers to operate these fisheries. I just have to make sure to run this city well enough to have food, to have firewood, to fix my health and possibly fix my happiness during a long period of time where everything is okay in my village, and then I will be able to expand once again. Now I could probably speed up to 10 because there isn't much I can do right now. I'm just trying to have enough food and enough firewood to get through each winter while waiting for the number of my villagers to go up. Having school is slowing me down because children become students at 10 and adults only at 17, so they spend around 6-7 years in the school, which they could spend producing goods. But the trick is they become educated if they finished their education, and they are going to be much more efficient and creating more goods once they become adults. So that is the upside. The downside is the 7 years that they have to spend as students instead of adults. Now I do need a market. I have been told and have read that a market can be very good to help you with the allocation of goods, and it will help the villagers have a place to go and get all the goods, because for example at the moment I have the storage barn that has herbs, iron tools, venison, hide coats. In this one over here there is just food as fish and the whatever food that the gatherer can pick up. Down here there is some venison, herbs, mushroom, berries, but there is really nobody living here that needs that storage barn. These guys can go up here as well as these guys, so they don't really need that storage barn to have goods. So if all the goods, even the resources, stone, iron, logs, firewood, are located in this marketplace that I could build here, then all the villagers would go there and pick up everything that they need for that day at once. They wouldn't go to, let's say, a storage barn to get some food, then go to a stockpile to get some firewood, then go to another storage barn to get some tools. They would just go to the market, saving themselves 3 trips in 1 trip. So they would potentially do all their shopping, so to call it, in 1 trip instead of having 3 trips around the map. So that's why a marketplace is such a good building. Now, do I have enough resources for a marketplace? A marketplace is 62 stone and 40 iron with 58 logs, so I might as well be able to build it. Now let's see, it has a huge area of effect. Where would it be the most advantageous for me to place it? Looks like about here. Although I'm not sure going up is the best idea, although I might start developing some more communities up there, so maybe somewhere in the middle of this piece of land here. Something like this should cover a lot of homes. Now if I have placed it for building, I do need some builders, but I don't really have any place to take them away except from a mine. So I will send 2 builders to build the marketplace. The tailor will probably act as a laborer as long as he doesn't have any leather to work and make coats. The builders will also be the laborers if they can have enough resources for the market close by and they have to get more. The food situation seems okay. The fishery is 886 and not a full year of production. This one over here, 808 and not a full year of production, so they can create around 1000 food for a full season of working at 4 villagers. Working with 4 villagers. The gathering huts do produce, well, sometimes less, sometimes more. It could be down to the fact that I'm cutting down a lot of these trees. I have noticed people say that if you have your forester's lodge just to plant and not to cut, that your herbalist and the gatherer are going to be more efficient. It is something that I might even want to test out, but considering the fact that I need a lot of logs and I have a lack of firewood, I can't really test that out right now. The snow house down here got built because I let my builders finish it as it had all the resources. Now they are quite far from their jobs, probably work in one of these fisheries, as we saw that they were fishermen. But that means that these guys can go up here and work. Now, this isn't the most efficient thing in the world, and I do realize I made some mistakes while I was creating this town, so I will try to do better in one of my next ones. I showed you one of my new villages that I played during the weekend, and I had managed to make quite a better setup, and I might even show you some of those let's plays if you tell me that you want to see how I built it. I may even start building from scratch just on the same map, so you can watch me build it, or you can say if you want me to just continue on where I left off with the save. So that's pretty much up to you. Anyway, we just got a new laborer. I believe somebody graduated from the school. I can set him as, well, as what? Another woodcutter. I think one of my woodcutters died, so I should definitely get that third woodcutter, since it is early winter and I'm already running low on firewood. Now, I am running low on firewood that's stored at the stockpiles, but the housing, they pretty much all have firewood. As I said, it doesn't matter whether one person lives there or 5, they all have no issues with stocking themselves with the maximum amount that they can pick up. 43 adults, 11 children, 6 students, minus 10 in the winter. That's pretty harsh. I do have a few more children. I have read to you from the helps menu in the previous episode that happiness can even affect how well the workers do at their jobs. So for example, if I look at my builders and they have very low happiness, that means that they're going to be very bad at their jobs. Same goes for any other worker, fishermen, hunters, woodcutters. So my production could be increased if I fix their happiness. Now, how do I fix their happiness? Well, like we read here, their happiness can be fixed by the buildings such as the market, the well, the tavern, trading posts, cemeteries, chapels, but the mines and quarries will decrease their happiness. So by building a marketplace, I could help out with the happiness, and also a cemetery would be a good idea. It would have been a good idea before I had that starvation. I had so many people die, but I guess a cemetery will have to be made once I actually have enough stone for it. I think cemeteries are pretty expensive when it comes to the stone. 1 unit per length. So for example, if I wanted to build a cemetery here, I would need around 50 stone. So I would need to send some of my villagers to the quarry. But in the quarry, they seem to die very often by being crushed by a rock. And at just 47 villagers, I would rather not have more of them die by getting crushed by rocks. A lot of my... Damn it! My teacher died! Ah, damn it. And I believe they won't even be educated because their education stopped mid-education because the teacher died of old age. That sucks. Oh well. Get some more fishermen. Still don't need any new herbs. I do have 4 laborers now freed up because they're not being educated, and I should probably... Well, I guess I can open up this fishery here and send them to work as fishermen. They do have housing nearby, so that would be okay. Now, I do have half of my village as stone housing compared to the wooden housing. That should reduce the amount of firewood that I need. Some people have even said that it reduces the need for firewood by 50%. I haven't tested that personally, so don't take my word for it. Now I don't have anybody for a vendor. I should try free up a builder to be a vendor, while another builder can become a free laborer. Now, as the market is built here, anybody who produces any resources should start... Yeah, you just saw that we got 500 fish all of a sudden. That's because a vendor went to this storage barn, took 500 fish and brought it here. So now any villager that lives here is going to be able to have quicker access to fish than if he had to go all the way here. It should also help him with the average health because it is increased if you had food variety. Now, the one food variety that I lack is any sort of wheat that can be created by farms. That is something I could trade for if I were to make a trade post, but like I said, I'm trying to limit myself to a certain model of a village for this village let's play, because I think that will make the game last longer for me and for you if you watch these let's plays, if I'm not making the same village every let's play, but concentrating on a fishing village, for example, here, and for example the orchard village that I showed you in one of my previous videos and I talked about a few minutes ago. So again, I have students. Hopefully this new teacher won't die so fast. Let's see who the teacher is and how old he is. Teacher. So age 20. So if he doesn't die of any unnatural causes, he should be able to teach a lot of kids in his lifetime. It's interesting that a teacher needs a tool, an iron tool at that. Maybe he disciplines the kids with that tool. That's not something I even want to contemplate. I'm now at 17 children and 5 students. That's 22 mouths to feed with 44 adults. That's not a very convenient thing to be at, and considering how easy I had famine last time, I should really be careful on my population and my food production. I think one of my biggest mistakes was having 15 miners and 15 stone cutters while having a population of 80 adults. So I was literally using more than a third of my population at a profession that was totally unconnected to food production. So it was probably one of the elements that led to my failure in this village some time ago. 2 videos ago to be more precise. So where do I go from here? Well, the happiness seems to be going up a little bit at least. And maybe I should even build a very small cemetery considering how small of a community I have. But where should I put it at? Good question. Maybe over here. Cemetery is too small. Oh, there even is a limit to how small you can make it. So 7 by 7 would be 24 stone. I don't even have enough stone. So I would have to gather up some stone. I do have some miners still creating iron, but iron is necessary for tool production, so I cannot touch them. I do have loads of food, but again, I don't want to touch those guys. I have logs, but not enough woodcutters. So it will take one forester to become a woodcutter, and I just lost a vendor. Oh, I'm going to have to take that vendor away and make him a woodcutter, considering I have 0 firewood. Bloody hell, they go through firewood so fast. But then again, that's the problem of having so many housing and so few villagers. Not enough villagers for the amount of housing. Now, one thing that I was told that I could do was, for example, to start this upgrade to a stone house and then pause it. For example, reclaim it like this. And this way I could keep pausing it and unpausing it to push some people out of their homes and make them go into another home. For example, there's just one person living here and I start to reclaim this house, and that will push him out of that house, and so he might even move in with somebody else. It's a way to try and push people to live in homes with other people and not just live by themselves. For example, I could push this gatherer. He will have to go and live somewhere else. So now I'm leaving empty houses that are not going to be filled up with more food and firewood for no reason. But again, some people will move back in. So one thing that I could do is just simply keep them at the upgrades, but not have any builders to actually upgrade them, or destroy the wooden house and rebuild a stone one at its place. So that would keep them away from the housing and push them to live in other places. Now the problem is they say that they are homeless because they do not wish to go to another person's home. For example, it's an issue with them if they are 80 or something like that and they do not wish to go and remarry at that age. And I do have a lot of males, it seems, but not enough females. Not enough old grannies to take on these old males. Yeah, I definitely do have any grannies taking these males. Actually, I do have this one. So maybe she'll go, and I have this one as well. Maybe I could make them. Well, it seems whenever I push out an old granny, she finds a home, but whenever I push out a grandpa, he does not find a home. That's quite interesting. A male, and if I push his home... Oh, I seem to have reached the limit of how many homes that I can disable. Oh no, this was a stone house. That's why I wasn't able to do anything with it. Now you see, these guys are 79 and 68 and they are together in one house. 1750. Anybody else living on their own? This guy, this forester here. This fisherman. But these are males. Can't just keep tossing males out of their homes. Need to find some females for them. Now when I started playing this game, I definitely did not expect that I'm going to be tossing out old-timers to the curb just because they are taking up valuable space. Now I have suggested at the forums for the developer to make an old folks home. It could be just a variation of the boarding house, and that way you could make these old folks find a boarding house and live together without taking resources for empty housing where they live just by themselves. As you can see, I am at just one person without a home, while I have turned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 homes to be turned from wooden houses to stone houses. So I've kicked out about 10 people while only having one person that is homeless, which means that they actually managed to find a place to live with somebody else. But I do still have more housing that has just one person living there, and because those are stone houses, I don't really have a certain way to deal with that, except if I were maybe to designate that homes for demolition. For example, over here lives just this one woodcutter, and for example, if I were to say remove structure, that would make him leave the house. I do have 4 people without homes now because I accidentally told this house to reclaim as well. My bad. Okay, kick them out. 60-year-old miner. 61 years old. 26 years old laborer. Why do I have 4 laborers all of a sudden? Okay, what happened here exactly? Not sure. But I definitely need more stone cutters. Although I really hope I don't start losing those people down to killed and crushed by a rock. Some resources here that could be picked up. Maybe better idea to pick them up than to risk their lives at the stone cutter. I still have 1 laborer, but that's okay. Now where was I? Yeah, I was doing some remodeling, but I think this video is going on long enough, so I will keep playing this in the next one. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for more.